Welcome to Crime Stoppers International's On the Record webinar series. Episode 1, Christmas Scams Awareness, a crime prevention conversation with StealthCyber, hosted by Davina Mansfield.
My name's Davina Mansfield, Head of Program Delivery and Impact here at Crime Stoppers International, and I'm delighted to be joined by the StealthCyber team, Chris McDonald, CEO, and Bailey Marshal, CTO. Hi team, how are we?
Awesome, always.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Perfect. We butted heads together probably a week ago, and we wanted to come up with something that would add value to the listeners and people out there in the World Wide Web. So we really wanted to come to you and talk about Christmas scams and what that means for you as a professional and your organization, but also as an individual. So without your job title and your organization, what can you be doing and what should you be looking out for? I guess it would be great to kind of pick your brains. Things move quickly. What was happening last year is probably morphed and, turned into something else for this year. So would really love to throw it open and pick your brains in regards to what should organizations be doing in these last couple of days before we go into the traditional Christmas shutdown period.
Yeah, I think I'll go first, Bailey, if that's cool.
Yeah.
I think realistically, it's obviously one of the most busy times of the year for businesses, but like unfortunately for businesses and people, hackers and scammers and all those people, they don't really take Christmas holidays. Unless they've been successful in their scamming and hacking throughout the year and they made a lot of money, then maybe they do. But in this instance, not really. And then they obviously want to grow those businesses. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to capitalize on taking advantage of people who are obviously trying to get last minute gifts, trying to think of ideas of what they can buy people. And one of the biggest ones that I've seen recently, particularly amongst friends and family, is Instagram purchases, and seeing all of those adverts that are awesome, that look like something that's pretty much too good to be true for $15. Usually it kind of is, and you kind of never really get it in the mail. And then, a couple of months later, your credit card has been popped and you're not really sure where or what you purchased to make that essentially happen. So I think, it's a really busy time. I'll touch on something else really quickly that also probably should be pointed out, that's kind of enhanced, I guess, or escalated the scams and the targeting are the recent events that happened obviously all over the news in Bondi. There are a lot of messages going around and campaigns going around at the moment that are saying, have a look at the unfiltered videos, have a look at these photos, click this link to donate money, click this link to donate blood, book in this, all these types of things. And the majority of those are not legitimate as well. So these types of people, these types of organizations, they really take advantage of panic, rush, and the time. They capitalize on those types of situations, and quite often, you'll donate because you want to donate to help people, of course, and then your money doesn't really go anywhere, and then you've also been taken for a run as well. So it's gotten a lot busier, obviously this week, but yeah, in all honesty, it really comes down to making sure that you're validating, is the website that I'm going to legitimate? Is the place I'm donating to legitimate? Some of the banks do really awesome checks now. So like I know that Combank, when you're transferring money, it actually looks up the details of the person that you're paying, and then it will tell you that it matches their records. So it's like, this company, yeah, it tracks. It makes sense. People have paid this company before and it does line up with that name, or the company name is in this, whatever. So you can make sure you're paying the right people. But from a work perspective as well, it's also a busy time of year because you want to buy gifts for your coworkers, your employees. Sometimes you've got a secret Santa that's only like $20 and you want to buy something cheap. You see something cool on Instagram, and then, you buy it, you're putting in your work details, you're going to end up on some kind of, spam list, and they're going to target your work emails. It's going to be, an increase there. Do you have anything else to add, Bailey?
Yeah, so you talk about, the workplace stuff, and then my favorite thing is the gift card scams. So the CEO is buying everybody gift cards, but then saying, "Oh, well, you need to pay me so I can give you the gift card." And there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. One of the other ways is, "Hey, I bought this thing, but I can't unlock it. Can you send me the money so I can unlock it, and then I'll give you the money back?" And if there's any point where anybody in your family, your friends, your coworkers are asking you to give money for the gift that you think that you're getting, that's probably a scam as well. A lot of times, even if it looks legitimate, when it comes down to, hey, maybe I sent you $200 on some sort of app. I sent it to you on accident. Can you send it back to me? There are ways that these people can go through and fake that. So that way now you're sending, they say, "Hey, I sent you $200. Can you send it back to me?" You say, "Okay, yeah, I'll send you your $200 back." But then they'll also pull back the $200 that they sent, and now they've just pocketed your $200 for free. So yeah, I mean, I hope that nobody is getting gift cards from their CEOs and asking them to be paid to them first, but that is legitimate stuff that actually happens. And unfortunately, people, especially around the holidays, when it comes to, we're all getting ready to check out for the holidays, we often take breaks. And so mentally, we're not really thinking about the legitimacy of the request. It's just like, okay, like we've got stuff to do. Let's just get it done. And if you're asking me for this, obviously there's a legitimate reason, because my mind's halfway out the door into the holidays.
So is there a way for people to, I guess, purchase gift cards online? Because it is something that if you don't live near someone, it is a quick and easy way to kind of show your appreciation and love to your loved ones. Is there a way for people to send things? Is it sending a message to say, "Chris, I have sent you a gift card and it's from Maya," and so you're expecting it? Or are there certain, I guess, more reliable platforms that we should be guiding people to kind of, we all know someone that's been scammed doing exactly this, so how can we, I guess, protect ourselves? Because you're absolutely right, Bailey. People are busy, you're kind of expecting gifts, and people are quickly hustling for ideas to send to their loved ones. So it's really easy, I guess, to click on something because everyone's tired and absolutely waiting for that Christmas break. So what could we let people at home know to do? Or is there a way to kind of protect yourself from these online scams, especially from a gift card perspective?
I would say, yeah, there are a few ways. So obviously using like legitimate sources. So, like a lot of people, they don't like buy now, pay later type things, right? But they do kind of offer like Afterpay and stuff like that. It does kind of offer a middle ground. So like if you buy a gift card on like Afterpay, for example, the gift card you're essentially Afterpay is paying for it and you're just paying Afterpay, right? So it's kind of a middle ground. So if something scams or doesn't get done correctly, you can dispute it with Afterpay and they will sort it out for you, similar to like PayPal and everything like that, right? But yeah, it's kind of like even now, like my parents, they sent it was my wife's birthday on the weekend, and they sent a gift card for her, but they called me and said, "Hey, we're just going to send a gift card. It's coming through. Can you just make sure she gets it?" So like from that perspective, I mean, it's a gift card, it's not like a big surprise. It's not like you're buying me a car or something. Like I'm going to go cool. But yeah, I think realistically, when it comes to gift cards and things like that, and like, it's kind of, this is a Christmas special, right? So like if we take a leaf out of Santa's book, he makes a list, he checks it twice, he's going to find out who's naughty and nice, right? So check your list twice, make sure it's a legitimate person, do a double check. Am I expecting that? Are they naughty or nice? If it's nice, you're all good. Go buy a present.
Yeah, there's a lot of apps right now too that are implementing extra checks, like, "Hey, you're sending this amount of money to this person, verify the last 6, verify their phone number," for example. And only really someone that knows what their username is, knows what there are things that you can find online very easily about people through open source intelligence. So it's not a fail safe, but there are companies that are trying to implement things that help kind of break that down a little bit more so it is a little safer. So all that to be said, there are organizations that recognize that this is still a problem and they're trying to move forward to make things a little bit more secure where they can.
Awesome. And I guess the flip side of that, guys, is if you get it and you click on it, what do you do then the minute you realize that, uh-oh, I shouldn't have clicked on that? Because we're all going to have friends and family that have that story around the barbecue. What do you guys recommend if you have clicked on something that you then quickly realize you're in a space that you shouldn't be?
Yeah, I would say like it's in that's kind of good. I guess that's a two-answer question. If it's obviously at work, you would hope that people have some kind of protection in place, or at least an IT team or a security provider that they can talk to and say, hey, sorry guys, I did a bad. And it will hopefully get blocked if they've got the right stuff in place. And if it's not, they should have the right response ready. If it's at home, then you're in a little bit of trouble. Usually, if you have clicked on something, that's like quite often, it's not really going to be kind of a malware type thing. It's more like a phishing component where it's going to ask you to put information in. So if you've clicked on something and it says, oh, to unlock this gift card, put your credit card details in and we'll deposit the money to the credit card, like those types of common ones. In that case, contact the financial institution. Most of the banks, I'm pretty sure it was pretty sure most of them now, and credit cards and everything like that now, if like some kind of fraud or something happens, they will usually refund the money and then investigate it and whatever. It can be a bit annoying at this time of year because a lot of that sometimes can take up to 21 days. I think they usually say that it can take that amount of time. And there is another one that's not necessarily just the gift cards, but there is another thing that's kind of on the rise at the moment, which is called like a bin attack for bank cards, which is essentially kind of brute forcing credit cards, where if a vendor or a website isn't really kind of doing a lot of their input into the website, processing and everything like that, and making sure it's legitimate and locking it out, attackers can actually just run scanners on the website to try basically all the number combinations, all the expiry date combinations, and the CCV number until one works. And then when it works, they can charge the card, and then you've got to dispute it with the bank. They've got to chase up. I've had some clients that have actually dealt with that recently. But yeah, if it happens at home, obviously contact your financial institution. If it's your personal PC and you're worried about malware or anything like that, you can take it to a computer shop, get it fixed. Or usually these days, somebody has some kind of relative that knows a little bit about computers enough to probably help you out with, doing your computer or anything like that. I know that I get called constantly as the local family help desk. So there's usually somebody on hand, but you can also find obviously good resources online. I know the Crime Stoppers International has some user awareness training stuff online for cybersecurity, which is good, but you can also these days ask AI.
Perfect. So next week, most organizations will go down to, I guess, skeleton staff or reduced manning coming into the Christmas New Year period. What are we hoping or wanting to say to organizations before they sign off for 2025? Is there anything that you're hoping organizations have in place, or if they have 5 minutes that they're looking to kind of fill their to-do list before they do head off and lock the office? Is there something that you guys recommend or that you would like to see more businesses, I guess, implementing before we go down into minimal staffing over this Christmas period?
Yeah, I'd say the first thing that I think of, especially with most businesses now having the ability to either full-time work remote or do have the ability to move location. A lot of people like to change their, they like to take their work with them, even if they're not fully engaged with it at that time. And so a lot of people are on cloud-based services at this point. And so two things come to mind: using, unencrypted and open Wi-Fi when they go on holiday to log in with their corporate computers. The other thing is, if they're not bringing themselves a personal laptop, borrowing, going to, if you're staying in a hotel, there's a lot of times there's business centers, and using your credentials to log into things. There are not every organization has a lockout policy that says, okay, after a certain amount of time, this user has been inactive, we're going to log them out. So if you're using a computer that's open and public, people can come in and now basically jump in on your session to whatever it was that you were logged into. And so really the biggest thing over the holidays is making sure that there's that level of user awareness to just say, hey, if you're going to do this, then don't do this. Or if you're going to do this, have a fail safe or a measure put in place. And that could vary amongst, I keep it very broad because that can really vary amongst any specific scenario. But, implementing a quick 1 hour refresher, hey, we're going on holiday. We need to make sure that we're not doing these things. So that way it just reduces the amount of user error that comes with some of these incidents while we're kind of not mentally there thinking about security over that time.
Yeah, I think that's really important to note, particularly the travel component. So it's really important that a lot of people and organizations, they have a remote working and a travel policy that work together, so that when you are traveling, you do have a minimum set of requirements, like connect to a VPN if you're using Wi-Fi. Something that's also really common that if you're not super tech savvy, sometimes if you're connecting to a public Wi-Fi and it asks for a username and password, I have seen less tech savvy people put in their credentials into that, like their work credentials, even though it's actually asking for an actual credential for the Wi-Fi, not your work credentials. So make sure that anything you are putting credentials into is only your specific work tools. It's not random portals or anything like that. You're not sharing those credentials or anything like that. That is if you absolutely must work. From an IT perspective and from a business perspective, it's also important that you have two other things in place. One is a travel calendar, so you do know where people are going if they are going overseas, so you can see where those accounts are expected to log in from. And then going one step further and implementing what's called conditional access. So you can say, for example, we know that these staff members are going to be logging in from these locations, but there should be no logins from this country, this country, this country, this country. So it's only authorized locations that can log in. So if you do accidentally lose your credentials over there and somebody over this side of Europe gets it or over this side of Asia gets it, they can't log in with the credentials anyway.
And the good old multi-factor authenticator is another fail-safe as well to have on your device as well, just to kind of make it that little bit more challenging versus the business desk and just having your platform open to any person passing by.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, from a personal perspective, obviously the holidays are fun and friends and family, but for a lot of people it can be challenging and a lonely period of time, which also, I guess, opens up a different style of scamming. Over to you guys on tips and tricks for people that are, I guess, vulnerable from a love perspective or a loneliness perspective. Like you said earlier, Chris, the scammers unfortunately don't take the Christmas holidays period off, and this could be a really lucrative time for them where the people are in need.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be one of those topics that's going to go, this particular question, it goes into two aspects as well. And one I'll digress to Bailey for, because she is a lot more versed in that and very well known for it. But yeah, like, romance scams and things like that are something that, is a massive issue lately, particularly with things like extortion and financial theft and things like that, right? And so it goes into that context of making sure you know who you're talking to and that person is legitimate. And I mean, unfortunately, not everything is going to be perfect, because even, you can go down the path of send me photo, FaceTime me, and that person could be the person that you're talking to. It just turns out that they're just not a nice person and they're still going to scam you anyway. But at least you validated who they are. You have a little bit more information to kind of track that person down and everything like that. But I would say that if it's somebody who is obviously a little bit too scared to FaceTime you, video call you, phone call you, they want to keep it text-based, they want to keep it on WhatsApp and things like that, validate that it's the right person that you're talking to. You can do all sorts of things these days online, reverse image lookups. If they're sending you photos, you can do all of it because you can see, if that photo has appeared anywhere else. You can literally just pop it into Google, tell you if it's appeared in any other social media profiles by any other names, those types of things. You can cross-check it. In all honesty, the TV show Catfish has so many tips on how you can actually get around these types of things. If you even watch just like the first episode or the documentary that kickstarted that TV show, the documentary from Neve, who created the show, has a lot of information about how he tracked down his catfish, and that's where a lot of those techniques are coming from these days for open source intelligence on tracking down catfishes and things like that. But one of the things that you really just got to pay attention to is it a legitimate person? And even if it is a legitimate person and you're going to meet somebody, that you meet on an app and things like that, your physical safety is just as important. Tell somebody where you're going. Share your location, your live location, share it on WhatsApp, iPhone, whatever, with a trusted relative. Tell them where you're going, when you expect to be back, the name of the person you're meeting, the photo of the person that you're meeting, all those things. Always make sure it's in a public, well-lit place. And like, obviously, just don't go to somebody's house if you've never met them, those types of things. Make sure you're talking to the right people. But one of the things that's really, really important that you do need to protect over this period of time, and particularly with loneliness and obviously scams and catfishes and things online, is our kids, and being a good parent and being present and knowing what they're doing over the holiday period as well, particularly online. And I'll throw to Bailey to talk about that, about the scams and the extortions and things that are happening with kids for that, if you want to touch on that, Bailey.
Yeah. So in addition to all of the things that we've already aforementioned, because kids are just as subject to, they're just as statistically, actually, they're a very high probability that they could get monetarily scammed, financially scammed, things like that. But really the thing that I think about when it comes to childhood safety over the holidays is that want to reconnect to friends. And I know that there are some, social media things that minors can't interact with, but there are still ways that they're interacting with their friends, and some of them are still online, they're still publicly available. So wanting to reach back when they're on vacation or holiday with their friends, or sharing personal information. And so really the major things are, hey, I've gone on holiday to this new location and this is where I currently am. This is actively what I'm doing. I'm oversharing. This is the hotel that I'm in. And these are minors that are sharing this information, because really the generation that is being brought up, this Gen Z and younger, connection is a huge thing. And so while it might not be loneliness in a sense of, a romantic loneliness, they're still trying to maintain those social connections. And so obviously, as they are displaced from friends as well, if they're going on an international holiday, or maybe they're not seeing their friends over the time because they're at school, usually, and they can see each other every day, some of those times those text messages get really lost, and they could have a text that looks like it's from a friend saying, hey, I need this from you. I need money. I need pictures. I need something, when it's not someone else. It's actually someone, and it's attempting to extort them in some way that is kind of mimicking those things. So there are a lot of things that we need to do as, adults to protect our kids. For one, just making sure that they understand the ramifications of what they're posting, what they're sharing with friends, even if it's just texting friends back and forth. Sometimes just the wrong slip of, the other day I accidentally sent some concert tickets to myself, and there was like a wrong phone number. It was like the same phone number, but it was one number off because my finger slipped. Like, it just takes that silly little thing that now you're spiraling into something else and interacting with someone that you might not have intended to. And that person might always have the intentions to say, oh, this wasn't for me, and ignore that. So knowing what they should and shouldn't do, understanding the risk of those things, but instead of saying, no, you can't do these things, don't post these things, really it's a reciprocal thing of, okay, don't post that we are at this hotel at this time, or don't post that we're here. Post it a few days when we leave the hotel because we're going to a new city. And also at the same time, make sure your geotags are off, so that way you're not actually saying, hey, we stayed at this hotel. Now you're posting a picture in a location that it could be reverse searched, could be found, but now you're no longer there and you're not directly stating this is where we are, so people can kind of map where you would go. For example, when I think of going on holiday to a place that's small, like a Fiji or a Hawaii, usually if you're on an island, there's only so many places that you can go, and that place might be very small, versus if you're going to a larger country like Germany, it's like, okay, well, we've moved from city to city to city, and there's not really a good way to map what that looks like. So it's educating your kids on what the risks are, but also making sure that they have appropriate and proper outlets to get those things that they need, those connections that they need, those, being able to still be online in a safe way. And it just really so much more now during the holidays because people are traveling so much.
And that's an important part, the traveling component. It's kind of like, obviously we have the social media ban here now for that particular age group and for teens and everything like that, right? But it's really important to note that everything on that list, it's like when you're 21 in America, right? You're 18 in America, sorry, but you need to be 21 to drink. But then you come to Australia and you're 18, the bars, they let you in, right? Because you're 18, so you meet the drinking age here. It's going to be the same, when they travel, like, if a family is traveling with their kids and then other families are traveling and they find out their friends at school, they're all in America or something like that. All of a sudden they're all back on WhatsApp because they're allowed to be in America, right? Because it's not enforced over there. And so then they're sharing information again, they're it kind of gets around those controls and those laws that we have in place in Australia. So the travel safety, particularly for kids and the education around it, it doesn't change. It's the same. Like, they still need to be careful and protective, but there is also people that are trying to take advantage of that, sending messages like, this is how you can get around it, or like, you can use my account, and, building trust with these kids. Like various adults that have nefarious intentions, building trust with these kids to give them access to social media to do all these things. And there is a rise in that too.
And I guess it's not just the kids, right? It's people posting on Facebook that they're caravanning for the next 3 weeks going up the east coast of Australia, and they've taken a photo out the front of their house, all happy on a holiday. Yes. Just simple things like that from a geotagging perspective that are purely innocent, and people are very excited to go on this well-earned holiday without really understanding the ramifications of what they've kind of just put out to people who are actively looking to ruin people's Christmas holidays.
Exactly. If you're going to do that, walk down the street and take the photo out the front of somebody else's house. You'll be sweet. Yeah. Don't do that. That was a joke.
Do not do that.
That was a joke. But yeah, honestly, just be careful what you're putting online. Making sure that like if you are, everything that you put online is not going to go away, and everything that you put online in some way leaves some kind of footprint that can make you a target. So just be careful what you're putting out there. Be careful what your kids are doing. Make sure you're paying attention to them. I mentioned using AI before. Like, AI is part of everything that we do every single day, right? Now, you're not going to get away from it. You're not going to avoid it, right? And then kids these days are also using AI constantly, and even to try and tackle that component of loneliness. A lot of kids are, a lot of people, adults and everything, they're all working with AI to combat loneliness, trusting it. AI has become a psychologist for some people, it's become a doctor for some people, it's become all these things, right? So yeah, just make sure that you're keeping everybody safe over the Christmas holiday period, and that you are also just paying attention to what your kids are doing on their tablets, on their phones, on their computers. Make sure you're paying attention to all of that, because we always say that employees are one of the easiest things to cause a compromise in an organization. Kids are also that for your family.
Yeah, and great segue. I guess the takeaways from a business perspective is really to have that conversation with your team prior to shutting down. Hopes, dreams, expectations. I really liked the travel policy, and if you are traveling internationally, letting your organization know, you are taking your corporate laptop, and yes, these are the countries that you're visiting, with a loose kind of timeline, so your IT department can at least be aware of what is pinging around the world. The BYOD, I really liked, Bailey, how you talked about don't just log on to any PC. As much as you might want to check your emails while you're in Fiji, do you really need to? If not, can you VPN and, do something to kind of give that extra layer of protection? From a personal perspective, obviously we've talked about social media ban and really being aware of what our kids are doing. It is how they communicate these days. We're not ever really going to stop that, but how can we keep them safe online? And I think the education piece is absolutely critical for them to understand what is out there, and not everyone is going to be able to win the lotto with the Saudi prince and get $1 million. So just being really aware that some people have bad intentions and what does that look like, and I guess question what they are clicking on and how they're interacting with people. Was there anything else that kind of jumped out from either a business and professional life and personal that you guys wanted to touch on prior to wrapping this up and sharing with the crew?
I would just say, just validate. Like, one of the things that is completely underrated when it comes to making sure that you're doing the right thing is making a phone call to the person. A lot of people just, I don't know what it is, but I found in 2025, people just don't want to talk on the phone. Like, just pick up the phone, call the person. Hey, did you send this? Hey, is this legitimate? It solves the problem immediately, right? Because then So I would say just double check, make sure it's legitimate. Ultimately, if it sounds too good to be true, I know that it's cliche. It probably is, to be honest. Like, you're not going to get like a really cool gaming beanbag for $8.95 off Instagram, to be honest. So, but yeah, what do you think, Bailey?
Yeah. I think in addition to that, knowing that if you click a phishing link, if you give a credit card, put it into a wrong website, knowing what to do after that. So that way it's oh no, I did that. I'm not going to panic. I need to do these steps in order to fix this. That way it's going to stuff is going to happen, and to not completely obliterate your holiday season. Know exactly what you need to do when it happens, because eventually it will happen. I've input stuff. Like I've gotten in trouble. I've clicked wrong links. And so just knowing what to do when that happens is going to be half the battle of not totally tanking your Christmas.
Yeah, so from a professional perspective, letting your IT team know that you have done that would be the first protocol. And from a personal, obviously calling your financial institution, maybe even pausing or blocking your card so that number can't be used.
100%.
The 21 days is a little bit problematic, but it's there for a reason, so they can investigate. But having that conversation with your financial institution ASAP, they obviously deal with this daily, so they'll have good tips and tricks on how you can get money to continue having a really great holiday, but also protecting yourself once you've acknowledged or realized that I've taken a misstep, but I've called it out really quickly, and hopefully that's enough to kind of stop it in its tracks and then work the process.
Yeah, 100%.
Perfect. Well, StealthCyber team, wishing you guys a very safe and Merry Christmas. I hope you stay safe online, but also have a really great break. I know you guys have been extremely busy this year. This is what you guys do in and out. Deep expertise. You guys are on the line 24/7 for your clients. So I hope it isn't a busy period for you guys and you can have some downtime with friends and family. But absolutely, thank you for your time. And let's hope this webinar is at least making people pause before they're clicking on that link. And hopefully we can stop one scam at a time.
Unless it's the webinar link, click that one. Yeah,
absolutely, click the webinar link to keep yourself safe, but anything else, at least validate or pause and just double check.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Bailey.